So if it's done in confidence, that's the whole basis of trust, isn't it? The client has to be able to trust you, not to betray their confidence. Okay, so how important is it? In a way, it's all important, isn't it? They have to feel and they have to know, actually, that they can trust you, not to turn around and go babbling their secrets and their problems with everybody else. So it's critically important. You are establishing trust, and if that trust is broken, they know that they can't trust you, or they even suspect that they can't trust you, then the relationship is over. And they're never going to open up to you again. As I say in my example, I'm never going to open up to this guy, ever. And that's a shame, because I should be able to, but I don't want stuff that I share in confidence to be, I don't know who he's telling, but it's pretty clear he can't keep his mouth shut, so that's the way it goes. Now, we have an exception to this, though. We just said you can't break confidentiality, don't break confidentiality. Now we're turning around and saying, wait a minute, when do you have to break confidentiality?
When you put other people at risk.
Yeah, now we're getting into a whole different environment. I mean, in the next session, we're going to be talking more about this abuse and things like this nature, more specific how to recognize things.
What about if you are in the front of the judge?
If you are
in the court, you can break confidence.
in a court.
Yeah, court.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about.
If they call you to give testimony.
Yeah. That's it. There are cases where, in fact, you should and you must actually break confidentiality. In general, what we're saying is, if someone tells you something in confidence, you're not supposed to go talking around to everybody about it. But there are cases when, let's say, for example, if they come and say they've murdered somebody or they've abused a child or something, okay, you can't keep that a secret. And in fact, it's the law that you have to go tell somebody. You have to inform the police, or you have to break confidentiality. In that case, it's the law, actually. And if it's found out that you covered it up and you didn't say anything and you knew they were doing something that was breaking the law, you could get in trouble. So you have to say something.
Is this as a man of God?
It's the law. It doesn't have anything to do with faith. It's the law. It doesn't matter if you're a Buddhist, Muslim, atheist, Christian, anything. If someone, as a counselor, in a client-counselor relationship, if someone comes to you and says, I've been abusing my daughter, you can't go, oh, well, I'll keep your secret. The law says you must tell the police. You have to. So it has nothing to do with faith at this point. This is the law in the country. You have to tell somebody. You have to inform the police if they've broken the law, seriously broken the law. And if they've stolen a 5p piece of gum at the store, I wouldn't say you need to run down to the police station. But serious infringement. I mean, we're talking, you've done something, you've broken the law seriously. The other thing, kind of going along with this, I'm thinking about murdering someone, I'm thinking about doing something, and you say, are you seriously thinking about doing this? Yes, I'm going, you have to let someone know.
Yeah, but my question is, as you as a pastor, someone come to you and say that I'm thinking to go and kill my wife.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You're going to tell the police?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the law.
No.
Yes.
You need to give him advice and pray for him.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, because your prayer is more powerful.
Yeah, but
it's like
you don't understand what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying.
You can't.
You can't break the
keep
law.
quiet.
You're
Your
breaking the
wife
law.
dies,
Yeah.
You'll be informative.
You'll be in legal
Because
trouble. Now you may shake your head. It's the UK law.
Just you tell the police to keep
can't-
an eye on the guy.
It has nothing. That's what I'm saying. In this case, it's nothing to do with faith or anything. You could be a complete non-believing counselor, let's say, a psychiatrist, and someone comes and says, I'm seriously thinking about killing my wife. You have to report it to the police. Whether you're a pastor, a professional psychiatrist, psychologist, that's the UK law.
Yeah, but
If it does happen and it was found out that you didn't inform the police, you will be arrested.
I can give you an example. I think was 30 or 27 years ago, I was a young minister. There's a guy who come to me. He said he want to hang his wife.
What?
He want to hang his wife.
So he was looking to murder
And the
his
thing
wife.
was there, yeah. He put everything there.
Yeah.
I prayed for him. And I went to his house. I take it off. I said to him, don't do it. And up to now, he's still a good Christian. I see it on that side because
I hear what you're saying, but in this case, we're talking strictly in terms of legality. That's what the UK law says. You
yeah,
must
in my
report.
country law is the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
He said the same thing, but you as a man of God, you need to judge.
Yeah.
You need to judge what action to take. You can't straight away do it with the police.
But what if he goes ahead and kills him?
That's-
Will you wait for the rest of your life then?
I mean, I'm not.
No, I knew
can't
that-
argue with what
Yeah.
this is the law. That's the law. I'm just telling you this is the law. If you don't, because you're posing basically a spiritual answer to a legal problem.
Yeah.
It's a legal situation. Now, how you do that is critical. Obviously, you're not going to go, oh wait, hang on, I'm just going to ring 999. You have to assess the situation, but you have to report it. In these cases, you must break confidentiality. Another example is if they're talking about self-harm or suicide, you have to assess, you have good follow-up questions. I mean, I've had people make comments, people say things like, well, it'd be better off if I wasn't here. I should have never been born. I think those are kind of warning signs. They may be a cry for help. And you have to say, are you thinking about self-harm? Are you thinking about perhaps even suicide? And if they say yes, then you need to say things like, well, do you have a plan? Are you seriously plotting this thing? And if they say, yeah, I'm seriously, I've got the pills, or I've got the knife or the gun, and I'm going to throw myself off the bridge, then you have to say, this is a serious risk of self-harm or suicide, and you need to report it. And in case you have to break confidentiality. And of course, as we see, we're going to talk more about this in the next session, ongoing child or domestic abuse, whether they themselves are the ones doing the abuse. So if someone comes to you and says, I'm abusing my child, I'm abusing someone, or I'm the child, I'm being abused, you cannot keep it a secret. Again, these are legal, these are the law, this is what the law says. You have to break confidentiality. In general then, as a counselor, the principle is you don't break confidentiality. But as we see, there are exemptions to this, and that's what the law says. You have to. And like you said, Patty, if you don't, and the ongoing abuse continues, or the crime continues or happens or something, and you haven't reported it, you yourself will be in legal trouble because you didn't report it. Essentially, you covered it up.
Are you going to let your client know that you're going to report it?
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, you have to say to this person, you realize that according to the law, I must report this. I can't keep this a secret. I mean, you can't just do it behind their backs. They're coming to you asking for help because in a lot of these cases, they're opening up to you perhaps. In all these cases, they're disclosing some sort of secret, whatever that is, whether they're thinking of doing something, whether they are already doing something, or something's being done to them. The point is that they trust you enough to come to you and say, here's my deepest, darkest secret. I'm thinking about killing myself, or I'm being abused, when they're putting it in your lap, basically, and saying, I don't know what to do, especially in the case of children. They don't know what to do. But if they trust you enough as an adult to come to you and say, my uncle is abusing me, or something terrible is happening, I don't know what to do. I'm hoping you can help me. The worst thing you can do is to minimize it, or, I'm not going to. You have to report it. And in that case, you have to get the law involved. So you're helping the client. That's the whole point. You're helping the client deal with things they themselves can't help themselves with. Whether it's being done to them, or they're doing it to someone else, or seriously thinking about doing it to someone else. There are other people, and this is why we say this is about referral networks here, this session, because there are many cases, especially because, I mean, how many of you, did anyone have a degree in psychology, psychiatry?
No.
No, so we're none of us trained professional counselors, are we? It takes years of education and practice to get to the point where we are trained professional counselors, where you have a sign outside your office that says, Wisdom of Solomon, professional trained counselor, master's degree, PhD. We don't have that. So this is why it's critical to have referral networks in place when you are over your head. Reach out and you've got someone involved who knows what they're doing in these kind of cases. And it will happen. I'll give you examples of things that have happened to me when I was a pastor. So referral networks, what are we talking about? Why are they important? As we've just said, why might it be important to have people that you can contact when you feel like you're over your head in terms of your counseling ministry? Do you know how to deal with all these scenarios? Are you trained counselors, professional licensed counselors? Or no? So in this case, you have to have people you can tap and say, I need help. This is over my head. I don't know how to deal with this scenario. And people you know you can trust and will do a good job. So when you have a client who's exhibiting symptoms outside the scope of normal counseling care, we had a gal that we were counseling when I was actually in Bible college, and it was just an introduction to counseling 101 level course. And we were supposed to have these workshops where we'd break into groups of 3. Every week we'd have the same 3 people. One person would counsel the other while the third observed, and then we'd go around and then we'd make notes and talk about how we handled it. Well, this gal, it was me and this other guy and this woman, as we got more into the sessions, it became really clear she had suffered some horrific, ritual satanic abuse when she was a little girl. And she had basically buried all of this. She didn't want to, talk about it. But it started coming out, and we realized within about 3 weeks of going through this, we were getting way, way over our heads, and she started emotionally breaking down. In the end, we had to tell the instructor, and we told this lady, we said, we've uncovered something huge here, and this is way beyond our capacity. We don't know, we're just in a class, we're just students, We said, we need to tell the instructor. She's a licensed, trained counselor. And she ended up in basically like a psychiatric hospital. And she was in there for about 6 months, and she got some serious in-depth counseling. We couldn't deal with it, at that level. So in that sense, we have referral networks in place. And then sometimes you can't help them move forward. Has anyone ever had this experience, especially some of you Wisdom of Solomon and Eric, and some of you pastoral Shade, where you met with people perhaps for years and it becomes clear you can't help them move forward. You've reached the limits of this thing and it's not going to go. We had a couple in our church, they fought all the time. He'd had an affair some 10 years before, and they worked it through. He dealt with it. They stayed together, but the problem was she wouldn't let him forget it. He could never do anything good enough for her, and she would always beat him up. Yeah, well, you had an affair. You can't. What can he say to that? So she was beating him up and beating him up and beating him up with this thing. We all counseled him, all the elders in our church, every single one of us, and it became clear that she couldn't or wouldn't let this issue go, and then they would go to the next elder, because we'd all say the same thing to her. We'd say, you just can't keep doing this. This is so unhealthy, and she wouldn't do it, so we couldn't help her move forward. We couldn't help the relationship move forward. So we had to recommend them to a professional Christian counselor, because we said, and even then it didn't work. So some people just don't want to let go of things. And then sometimes you may say, I'm going to meet with you for 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, I don't know, 600 years. Sometimes it feels like 600 years. Or sometimes you don't have enough time to meet with everybody. So you need to be able to pass people along. Alright? Make sure we keep an eye on the time here. So we want to take a few minutes and talk about a case study I have written up. What you can do is meet up in groups of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you got 2 groups of 3. Alright, now I've got a case study. This is pretty close to a real life case scenario. There's some questions to answer. You want to meet with, or do you Wisdom of Solomon and Eric? You want to split up? I mean, there's too much pastoral experience here. Do you want to jump in that group? So you want to come over here, or Sade, you want to jump in this other group?
I have to stay with
Okay,
Shadow.
then you'll have to stay with the Wisdom of Solomon. You want to meet, you 3 can meet then. Alright. Let's take about 15 minutes and read through it and work through the questions in your group.
Somebody come in here.
No, no. Yeah, stay.
No, that's alright, we'll keep it together. Chantel.
It should be too wide.
Alors, n'avait pas quand on est invité au restaurant. Ouais, on a invité. Et la bifté.
So we'll give you till about 1:45, and then we'll spend a few minutes talking about it, unless you get done earlier. I find that cup of tea. I had one somewhere just here.
Exemple apprécié. Il y a
Step.
one cette année était bango batindi na petala yo sala chema. Baza na mje motema.
Bien sûr. Parce qu'il fallait au bon de la peau, il faut venir à la
Donc, vous avez pratique aussi, mais
Tu es dans l'exploité.
L'église évangélique.
L'église évangélique va exploiter.
Par exemple, où ils en ont pour les autoriser, obligés. Donc, dans la même cas, si on a besoin de pause,
Je
il
répète.
y a beaucoup de doctrines. On peut le
Déjà, vu M. Conscience, il faut ça. Like he last 15 whole days come to meet with you. She alleged that your stepfather, who happened to be the minister of another church in town, has sexually assaulted her. She is very upset and clear that what has happened is very wrong, but does not know what to do next, nor even how to raise the topic with a mother. Her goal is to start off by doing this when her stepfather is not around. She had not said anything to anybody about what she claimed has just happened recently. In that case, what will be you to send that girl to the hospital or to call the police now? Because the 15-year-old said that she had been raped by his stepfather.
There is
Oui, il faut bien amener la mission, il faut que nous m'amène.
il faut bien amener la terre ici.
À ta mission,
15 ans.
15 ans, oui.
Under
Under la violée.
That's the first thing. Underage.
Lui, il a mis associé au worker. First call the police.
Underage.
Underage.
The second point. Relation number
Is not broken. Relation with mother is broken.
C'est donc la soirée de trust.
Yeah, trust.
Trust is
Exactly.
it will backfire. Is it really
Troisième point. Position Mario en tant que ministre de la church, la ville, alors que Stéphane avait ministre de la church. Donc, et depuis cette position, il y a rivalité dans la position de Mario. C'est cool. Parce que Muslim accused of making up the worst thing to destroy the stepfather professional or career as a pastor. Yobo comme complice, ils ont destroyé.
Comme ministère stepfather.
Parce que na éthique, la case nous c'est un procédé là. La éthique. Non. The man finished to seek professional advice.
Donc, service social. Vous pouvez savoir un service social.
Other than underage.
Underage.
Selon l'eau. Donc, underage, social service. Attends, c'est qui parle là-bas. Parce que, exemple, wise, même en tant que pasteur, et que quand on a âge, voilà, il faut 13 personnes à ça.
Pour avoir
Peut-être pas de fois à bien. Surtout là-bas, peut-être pas de fois à
Donc, what are various ethical, legal issues?
Troisième point, non. Comme l'autre, c'est le step modèle. Parce qu'il y en a tous d'avoir vu sérieux, c'est quand vous avez fait ma fille sérieux, il faut se débarrasser non.
Je peux faire un service social.
this point,
C'est ma question. Question 4 et rien. Non.
No.
No.
Because the answer is no.
Yeah.
Give it to the girl communication difficulty and the fact that because the matter is now in the social service, you cannot do something. You cannot try to pull them together. It's up to the service social. But so that's something that's for the kids now.
D'ailleurs, moi, bon. Parce que si on ne fait pas vraiment, déjà, elle a souci, elle y est maman les habiletés, directement informée, par la disposition. Pour exercer le case, ngati soki azali guilt free azala set of free nafuna likambo parce que koabuse mwana ya age oyo eza bibisi vina.
Et puis, il faut que ça, on déjà combien de personnes.
Donc, et puis moi, non, ça fait combien de temps ça la donc, moi, je pense que les acteurs, il ne faut même pas essayer. Parce que comme accompli ça,
Il faut voir la service sociale.
la question
Service social avec caisse, par exemple.
avec ça, par mon côté, parce que maintenant, on peut avoir tout un secret, tout, parce que la preuve, donc, réputation, tant que dossier de la service social, réputation, il peut avancer. Jusqu'à ce que, absolument, qui est réellement sa guilt.
L'État tient beaucoup, il tient les jeunes.
Non seulement on doit traiter les témoins, on doit permettre de bimoter par exemple la famille aussi qu'elle va se traiter de social.
Sur les communes de service social.
Non, sur la service social, une femme qui est parce que ça n'a pas besoin de organiser sur le droit. Ça n'a pas besoin de senga.
Il y a
ça
aussi
mais le service social peut avoir un outil sans qu'il y ait la preuve de l'hôpital.
Nous, c'était au pays où ça va passer conseil au bazar de Mubala, au lieu de la bana, au bala Mubala, et tant de gens qui sont au bala de Bala, comme de Naï, à Bala, au monde de Salon. Il faut que la maman a besoin de la maman, au moins pour ceux qui Bala Mubala, je l'ai beau. Maman, je l'ai beau. Ceux qui Bala, je l'ai beau.
Moi, je suis sûr. Au départ, c'est que madame, pour la faire la partie mais la situation est très compliquée, très difficile.
Il y a un cas moins difficile.
Très difficile. Très difficile.
Bon, numéro 6.
You need more time to work through it?
Non.
Few more minutes?
Nearly finished.
Nearly finished.
I'll give you another few minutes. We want to spend some time discussing
It's a
this.
serious case, you know.
Well, it's
Very
serious.
serious.
It could very well happen.